Hello, hello, everybody. We are back again for another Other Ink Thursday, and I'm very pleased to be joined again by Robert Turk of Wicked Clever Games. Robert, welcome back.
Hey, thank you. Good to be back, Matt.
And congratulations on 10 years of Wicked Clever Games.
Woo!
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. It actually snuck up on me. I didn't I didn't even realize it until other people started talking about their 10-year anniversary, and I was like, I wonder how many years I've been doing this. And I looked, and it was 10 years. Yeah, we
Yeah. Well,
go ahead.
no,
Yeah.
I was going to say, I told you that we covered, I went back and looked, and it's been longer than I remembered since I talked to you on this show that I do. And so we don't need to cover how you got into games and stuff like that. But I think we're going to touch on it because I want to ask you some questions about like a 10-year perspective,
Yeah, absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
like what's
They
changed
could
in
go
the
watch that
industry.
other video if they want to know about my illustrious
I am going
past.
to link it
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
description of this video because we get into all of it, and I'm sure you'll
yeah.
touch on it in just a second. But I also want to ask you about what you've been up to in more than 2 years, right? Because I know at least one game has come out. I've got Vale of Failed
Yeah,
and Fallen in hand,
yeah.
and you're working on a sequel to Goblonia, and you're ideating 1,000 things a day, I'm sure. And also you've had so many life changes, and like, where have you settled with all of those? Nothing
Yeah.
bad, but like just
Nothing
different,
bad. It's all good.
uh, but like, it's just it messes up your routine. And I want to ask you about like recovering routine and all that kind of stuff and like keeping the work going because
Yeah.
it's hard to be it's hard to make art at all, and it's hard to make art in these times, and then it's hard to
Right. In
make
these,
art
yes.
when you have to take your life and etch a sketch it, and how does it all settle down? So
Yeah.
like I want to talk to you a
Yeah.
little bit about that. But like
Yeah.
first I got these questions. So
Okay. We
uh
got some questions. All right.
yeah.
Pop quiz time.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Okay, so my first question for you this is the 10-year retrospective kind of question is you used to do a lot of Ren Fair stuff.
I
So
did.
like again, see the earlier video, but like
Yeah.
what do you miss the most about like that era of Robert Turk?
Oh. Oh. That's a good question. Um, what do I most miss? Well, because I kind of fell into game design. Like I was an
Yeah.
entertainer, I was an author, and people wanted a game that didn't exist from one of my short stories. Right? They're sitting around a table. Goblins are sitting around a table playing goblin poker. Essentially, it was Hog Swallow. And everybody's like, "I want this game. I want this game. Where do you buy it? You don't buy it. It's in a fiction, right?" And so I had to eventually make the game.
There's no rules to Fizbin either,
Right,
it's
right, exactly, right. I had to eventually make the game, and I did, and that was my very first game, and that released in December um of of 2015. So we just passed it, right? Well, except now it's June. So um, in my mind, it's still February.
yeah.
Uh, but what's changed from that life to this life? I traveled a whole lot more.
Mm,
And I do miss some of that. I don't miss like the camping and on the side of a mountain in a rainstorm in the summer. Like I don't miss that at all. I miss those friends.
mm.
Like I miss those connections. And I have made new good friends, right, at the conventions for games and stuff, but those are working conventions, right? So
Yeah.
it's not, and the other ones were too, but it was a very different kind of work. Like it was work that was play,
Yeah.
and this is sort of play that is work.
Mm.
Um, so if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Gosh, I
I
can't
think,
imagine you talked about like camping out. Like I can't imagine going to like Gen Con, but then
oh
also living in a tent while I did that, like
no.
that sounds bad.
Yeah, yeah, you would no, never. That would be a way to cut down on hotel costs.
Well, but I
But
mean, like I assume with Ren Fairs, there's no other option. Like it's like you're
not
out.
really.
They don't
Yeah.
have like a hotel attached by concourse to
No, no,
the
no, no,
the
no, no,
parade
not,
grounds.
no. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, eventually, when I was performing, I would get hotels. Like at the end of that career, I would get hotels as part of my contract. Like I'm not getting ready in a field anymore. Yeah, I'm gonna sleep in a bed where I don't have to worry about leaks.
Yeah.
So I mean that's changed. I think the other thing that has changed is I don't like the goal of what I do is not really kids
Mm.
anymore. Like I would entertain adults and I would write for adults and I would also write for kids under two different names. But I don't really get to see those excited kids anymore, right? And that's something that I miss. I don't want to go make kids games. I really don't. Um, but just kind of that joy in a child's eyes, in their just the way they lit up when they bought into the magic of the
Mm.
event and the magic of my character. Or I still remember I did
You don't
a
have to
I did
explain to them the magic circle. They just
you don't
kind of
have to
get it.
explain, right? They just get
Yeah.
it. They just buy in immediately. I was doing a library event for elementary school kids and signing books, right? My books, obviously, not just random books. Although if a kid brought up a random book and wanted me to sign it, I'd probably do it. And I still remember that I went to sign a little girl's book, and she went, "Oh no, you can't write in it. That's against the rules." And I was like, "You are absolutely right." And I handed it over, and her dad's like, "No, no, no. You want the author to sign their book?" And I'm like, "No, it's her book. If
Yeah.
she doesn't want anybody to write in it, that's totally fair." So then he had to buy a second copy for himself that I would sign. but but there's just that it's very different
Yeah.
than selling to gamers at a
Yeah.
convention.
Yeah.
So, but otherwise, I am I am happy actually doing what I'm doing because there are many times where I have stopped and thought, should I be writing fiction again? I'm never putting back on the costume, right? Like that's done. I still do some MC events. I still don a little bit of costuming for events at my local board gaming tavern. So I do those. Those are fun. That's enough, right? I host New Year's. I host Halloween. I
Yeah, yeah.
host
You could definitely rock a host role, like, you know,
right, and those are.
put on a vest and a funny hat and just get
Oh
up there
yeah.
and
So
make a scene.
that closet, I can't open it right now because of the dog crate. That has 3 shelves of hats in it. So, and jackets. Crazy jackets are on the other
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
And then papers and printer stuff. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Well, I mean, I do want to hear about your office arrangement. That's kind of tied into something we'll talk about later. But
yeah.
like, talking about my next question for the 10-year thing is like, and you're kind of getting into it now, like over 10 years, what do you think that you've really figured out how to do
Oh,
in this
um,
industry? Like what has like
well, one is working with artists.
mm,
I, I mean, that was scary the first
mm,
time I had to reach out and find artists. Now I say I figured that out. I made a really dumb mistake and I put an open cattle call for artists interested in a project on Facebook. It was a public post, um, and I got probably on day one, I think it was 32 AI generated emails that said the exact same thing
uh-huh.
with a different name on it. And I almost got scammed, like, because one came through that did not look AI generated in the sea of that. Um,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh, a real person. Thank goodness. Let me talk to this. They were a scammer. And I would never have sent them money, but I almost had them like signed to the project, right?
Right.
Which would have been not fun. So, but otherwise, working with artists, right, and really being able to communicate what I want for the work, and being able to see in their style, like looking at a portfolio, looking at a booth, because I still find a lot of artists at conventions. Like I'll
Hmm.
walk through Artist Alley, and that's how I found the cover artist for Vale, the Failed and the Fallen.
Yeah.
I saw his work. I'm like, oh my god! And he's like, oh yeah, I'm doing some stuff for Wet Ink, and I'm
Yeah.
like, thank you. And then I
Sam
went right
Brick.
over to you and to ask about him. Right?
Sam Brick is real good. He was
He's
selling
amazing.
prints. We've had him
Yeah,
at our booth
yeah,
as a featured artist at our booth for a couple con seasons, and like he sells prints of this cover.
yeah. Good. I'm glad he's selling them.
I mean, they're
Um,
on sale. I think
they're
I
on
think I did
sale.
see
I
somebody
hope he's
actually buy
selling
one
them.
too, but he is
Um,
he they are for sale.
yes.
Um,
Um, yeah.
so let me ask kind of a corollary to that. Does that come from like a stage management kind of thing? Like that sort of
It.
like, I know what I want, let me explain it to
Yeah.
you kind of a thing?
It
Does it connect to
does.
that?
It does. But I also had to learn. Like I went to school for theater.
Hmm.
Okay. So I have a designer's eye. Like,
Hmm.
I can look at something and I can know what I think it needs. I am colorblind, which causes problems. I will say something looks awesome. My wife will look at it and says, "That does not look awesome. You're not seeing the colors that are actually there." So everything has to be run by my kid, who's a high schooler, but he's at an arts high school, and my wife, who is a costume designer and a professor. So they look at everything once I think this is good. But part of that is, yes, being able to communicate with artists. It's not that different talking to visual artists that it was talking to actors and
Hmm.
designers, as a stage manager. And then part of that is just learning the shared language. Like I couldn't have told you 10 years ago what a tangent was. But now I'm really good at spotting them, right? And learning what I need for print,
Hmm.
and being able to convey that to artists who may not be versed in that realm
Yeah.
of it. Like I know what my books need to go through the printing process,
Right.
and what I need from an artist to make that happen, and what skills I have that can take what the artist gives me at a certain stage and get it ready for print. Like,
Right.
so that is definitely something that I have gotten way better at doing.
Yeah.
Um,
You're definitely one of those impressive do it all yourself people that go from idea to writing to art direction to layout to print file setup to
yeah,
then moving the books up and down your own staircase. Like you do
right.
it all. So
I
like
am.
you have that knowledge of like, I know what it needs to look like at every stage because you're doing it all.
Right. I mean, I think that's most small business owners in America. You kind of got to learn how to do it all, and then hopefully, at some point, you can start passing responsibility for things off to people that do it better. Right.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that I've reached that stage. Like editing, yeah, I got an editor. Right. Absolutely. I don't job that out to my family anymore. Shipping is still in. I mean, we haven't shipped a project out of this house yet, so I don't know that shipping will still be in house. But shipping for 10 years has been in house. Like we do it, right? We clear the dining room table and to
Yeah.
fulfill a Kickstarter and box it up and
It's
assembly line it. Um,
it's a thing I have done as well.
yeah,
Is
right.
it's a
Um,
lot.
so I think the other thing that I've gotten really good at is I'm pretty set in my process
Hmm.
now. Like I know what it takes for me to take a game from idea to print. And through crowdfunding and through development and through layout and publishing and all of that up to passing it off to Studio Two and letting them sell it,
Yeah.
right? So I'm good at my process. My process is
Right.
not the same as everybody
Yeah,
else's.
well, right.
Uh,
Everybody's got to find their own process.
but so like I know when I come up with an idea, how long is it going to take me to write this? How long is it going to take me to play test this?
Hmm.
How much art do I really need for this?
Right.
And how am I going to afford all that?
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so
Well, and you mentioned crowdfunding, and so like my next question to ask there about is like, what is the biggest innovation or change in the industry that you've seen in the 10 years that you've been doing it? I mean, crowdfunding existed 10 years ago,
It
uh,
did.
but also and self-printing and like I mean all of these things existed,
Right.
but like there is such a machine. It feels like for there's a known route to do this in a way
Yeah.
that there wasn't 10 years ago. But like anything else that comes to mind is like, or I mean, it could be that, but like anything else that comes to
Well,
mind is like, what is 10 years seen of like the biggest thing that you've
yeah.
had to get on board with, or you missed a trend,
Oh,
or you're
oh.
seeing it
Well,
come.
I have missed so many trends. I have missed so many trends. And I decided actually I can put out my goal is one big game a year. Like
Mhm.
that's what I can do.
Right.
And maybe some little games. And I cannot do more than that. As much as I may want to do more than that, I can't do more than that. And so I had to come to terms with that I am not a publisher. I'm not a designer that can do 3 games a year. I'm not. Um, I go for bigger games because of that, right? My one big game a year has got to make a splash.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't, that sucks because that one big game a year was actually 2 or 3 years of
Sure.
development to get it there. But I think in terms of crowdfunding and in the early days, my first crowdfunding project was in the summer of 2014. So that was kind of the tail end of the early days of crowdfunding, I think. And it used to very much be a if you build it, they will come
Hmm.
kind of thing. Like the novelty of crowdfunding, you could put something up there, post about it on Facebook, and you if it was a cool idea, it was getting funded.
Yeah.
Now you have to do like a hype period, right? You got to market the thing.
Right.
You've got to get
asks
people
asks are bigger, like the market is more
right,
crowded, the
right.
expectations are higher, like
Yeah. So I had to get on board. I hated mailing lists. I really despise mailing lists and newsletters. I hate them. But I had to get on board with keeping a mailing list. I still only use it for, hey, this is the next Kickstarter that's coming out, right? So basically, people get three emails a year
mhm.
from my newsletter. But I had to get on board that. Like I had to gather my audience, right, and keep them in the loop on what was happening. I tried the Patreon thing and eventually shut that down. Like it just I wasn't generating content every week to make it worthwhile for me to keep doing it and feel like I was getting value out of that. Um, I
I mean,
Go ahead.
it sounds like you're talking about your email list. I mean, there's such a promise, I think, that the the cycle, right? Like, like there's a you used to have like email list was the only option, and then you have social media, and then you have so many followers, but then like there's so many platforms, it's hard to keep track of all the
Hmm.
platforms, and like I mean, the best advice seems to be back to like how you need to have an email list,
You need
it's
to have an
like,
email list. You
and
really
like,
do.
and that's it's like it didn't go like that part of it didn't it didn't go away, but these other forms didn't prove themselves to be ultimately
Right.
the single thing.
Yeah.
Like,
And it used to be like you could just post about it on Facebook and that was enough,
yeah,
right? And I don't even does anybody even post about it on Facebook anymore? I don't know, right?
I tried to be on that platform as little as possible
Right,
myself,
right.
but
I was
that's
never on Twitter. Never. I
yeah.
never understood it, so I never bothered with it. Which that worked out great for me.
Right, right. And everybody's talking. People talk about the new Twitter, and I'm like, well, but I'm not missing anything because I also
Yeah,
was never on
I
Twitter.
was
So
never on
like,
Twitter.
but
Um,
like, people have the same story about that, where they're like, you just used like here's a link to my thing, it's cool, and then like
right.
everybody is on Twitter that and they just go and give you $5 each or whatever you're asking for, and boom, that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
And things certainly aren't that way anymore. Um, I don't know when we talking about innovation or trend, but like uh, I think maybe the old is new again. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um, what? Okay, so related then, my next question for the retrospective is like, do you think what do you think is like a big missed opportunity that you've had, or like just a real cul-de-sac you went on, or something from the last 10 years that just something you've had to just that you either, like I said, you either went down a road that didn't go anywhere and had to come back, or you just saw something pass by, you're like, that'll never be a thing, and then you didn't do it, and like like I don't
All
know, like
right.
what's
Well,
any
I've got one
regrets?
of them that I have since adopted, but QR codes.
Uh
When those came out at conventions, I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. Right? I'm like, nobody is going business cards. Like I was still like, no, you need your information on a business card,
yeah,
right? You need your information on signage. Whatever this QR code thing is that everybody's pushing, and it really was the techie folks, right? But I can remember somebody coming to our booth and talking to us about QR codes and how they were the wave of the future. And I'm like, yeah, somebody said that about Bitcoin. Like I had somebody trying to sell me on Bitcoin at my booth. And well, I wish I had remembered the password to that free Bitcoin he gave me. But QR codes, I was like, this is never going to catch on. And yeah, that one worked, right? Like we gotta everybody uses them now, and they're so useful. But it
right,
took a bit for me, and I think also for the public to see like this is a thing, right? It's in your phone. You don't have to do
right,
anything. You just
right.
and maybe phones had to catch up too to be able to
I
do
think
that.
the ubiquity of phone is part of
Yeah.
that.
The other things were I never jumped on the TikTok bandwagon.
Mm,
And I know that has hurt me from a marketing perspective. I don't regret not jumping on the TikTok bandwagon, to be clear. But I never really embraced short form content. Like,
yeah.
I'm not out there making short form content. That said, I'm not out there making long form content anymore either. And I was doing actual plays. I was working with Nat 21 Adventures, which they're great. It was fun, but it was so much work to do those recordings and to do actual plays that it was kind of a choice of, am I going to make good games, or am I going to be an entertainer pushing the games that
Yeah.
I've already made in actual plays? And I had to decide, this is too much. Like, I can't spend all week working on an episode of a show, even though I love it. Like, even though that's what I went to school for,
Right.
and it was my first
I think
career path.
you could put together a really amazing group of players to play a game, and you could
Yeah,
like do some post-production. You're pretty good with post-production. You could have great overlays and like sound design after the fact. You
and
could
I
do
was
some really
doing
amazing
that.
stuff,
I
Robert.
was doing that, and then it's just like it's too much. It's
Yeah.
what do I really want to be doing?
Mm,
Um, and I decided that I really wanted to be making games
yeah.
and not making content. Like,
Right.
and I did that hurt me? Probably, right?
Mm,
Like,
But but if you made the right choice for you, then
I'm only one person, right? I'm only one
yeah.
person. I can only do so much in a week. Um, and but now it's kind of the thing of actual plays are huge, right? And you really need them for your game. So I actually do go back to Nat 21 Adventures whenever I'm gonna about to release a Kickstarter, and I'm like, hey, I want to play, and they're always great about it. They're like, yes, let's play this game, let's. And that's good. But if I was doing it every week, I'd be selling more games. Because people would see it played and they would
They
go, oh
see
yeah,
it
I can
played.
play that at
Yeah.
my house. Um,
Yeah.
so
It is kind of a, I mean, that's a whole other, yeah, that's, we don't want to go down this road. This isn't a real question, but just like the sort of like RPGs as like a promised experience, whether or not you actually ever get it to the table and have that experience, like you're selling kind of the promise of it.
yeah,
And that,
yeah.
and,
I
as a business person, you have to get them to buy the game, and like on
yeah.
some level, I don't care if they go out and burn the book. Like still gave me the
Oh
15
yeah,
bucks,
yeah.
like there it's mercenary in a way, but it is also sort of like you want to
Yes
showcase
and
what it
no.
could be, and
Yeah,
that's like
yeah.
enough
Yes and
sometimes.
no. I still remember. One of the very first, because I used to be a leather mask maker, one of the
Mhm.
very first leather masks I sold was at a West Coast event called Fairy Worlds. I don't remember the guy that bought it anymore, right? But he bought one of my very first leather masks. And right, these were hard. These were not easy, crank them out things. These were, at the time, they were high dollar pieces for that kind of festival. Um, I remember the next year, the same guy came back wearing my mask that he had bedazzled, which is essentially gluing crystals all
Yeah,
over
yeah,
it, right?
yeah.
And he was like, "Look what I did! I used it as inspiration," and I was crushed, right? Because I was like, "Oh my god, he ruined it," right?
Mm,
But the more I thought about it, he was happy,
yeah,
right? He had paid me for it. It was not mine anymore, and he had made something that made him happy using my blood, sweat, and tears as the base. He made it fabulous for him. For me as a leather mask maker, it was cringe. But I'm kind of the same way about games
yeah,
now. It's one I what I think we sell, what I try to create is an opportunity for connections
mm,
that people can get together around a table or through Zoom or Discord or whatever and have those very human community connections over playing a game. I think that's the value of games, right? Is that they bring people to the table, possibly from different walks of life, or you know what, from the same walk of life, and getting that reinforcement and that support of like-minded people around you. But to provide a creative outlet and to problem solve and to do all that stuff. But most importantly, I think is the community around it. So what I try to make and what I try to sell to people is the opportunity to have those experiences, right? To have those community. And if they take ideas from my game and use it in Dungeons and Dragons, great, go for it, right?
right.
It's not how I would play it, but if they take my game and they just read it and that's it, or just look at the art and enjoy it, I
Yeah.
think I have fulfilled my part of the bargain,
Mm.
right? To give them something that gives them an experience and the possibility of making those connections with other people. Um, there are plenty of games on my shelf over here of games. In fact, Alien, the role playing game, is still in the shrink wrap. Um,
I think mine is too, but I did also get the Quick Start playset, and I've read
yeah,
that. So like
yeah.
that came out of shrink, and I read that, but the whole core book I think is still in shrink.
It's still in shrink wrap over there. Like I buy games. That's actually a very real part of the hobby. Buy games because of and I guess that is the promise of there's
Mm.
really cool things in here and I want to own it and I
Yeah,
want to. It's kind of like crafters, right? That they buy craft supplies that
yeah,
they
yeah.
may
I could do
never
something great with
use.
this.
I could
Yeah,
do something great with this, right? I
yeah,
can have
yeah.
so much fun with this, and that's okay. I that's totally fine. And there are games on there that I have read half of it and gotten good ideas from it.
Yeah.
And I mean that's what I tell my kids is like somebody gave us a second AD&D second edition box set about castles, right? And my kids were like, "But we don't play this." I'm like, "Look at the maps, pull
Yeah.
it out, look at the cool stuff in it, and use what you want, right? Whether it's for art projects for my high school kid, or whether it's like there's adventures and things. No, are the rules going to be what you would use with your group today? They're not, but the ideas are still in there, and those are
I,
still
I this is we're atomizing the question list here, but like so I have a Middle Earth role playing
Mhm.
core book and it's second edition, and I don't know, like whatever, I just have it like Middle Earth
Yeah,
role playing, I like Tolkien, let me get Middle Earth role playing. And I
yeah,
read that book, and it is a very bad Tolkien game because it tries to be 2D and D and
yep,
mechanicalizes the magic in a way that doesn't really feel like
yeah,
something that comes out of the Lord of the Rings and all that stuff. But there's this table in the back that is this amazing chart of like the kind of land you are in and the percentage chance of finding each of these different herbs in all
Oh,
these
that's
different
cool.
locations based on
Yeah,
your skill level and stuff like that. And I'm like, that page of that book you could put in any other game. Like if you've got a druid, if you've
yeah,
got like any kind of like wise wizard type person, any kind of nature magic type person, like here it is,
absolutely.
already done. You're in a valley, great. You can find this, you can find Ethelas, but only at like 15% chance because
Yeah,
like you're not in the environment where it grows. And I'm like,
yeah,
I think about that chart from that. Everything else in that book I don't care about, but that one page that has the like herb chart,
yeah,
the foraging chart, and I'm like, put this in any other game. It's amazing, you know.
yeah.
So yeah, it's stuff like that is you. That's why you want to get the book because like, oh, someday I'll have
Right,
a
right.
reason
And
to
you
use
might,
this chart.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right, I have
absolutely.
one more question about like retrospective stuff, and
Yeah.
then we could talk about some of your newer stuff. So like,
Okay.
what's just a really great story of like an interaction with a fan or a buyer or a game you played? Like, what's just a favorite story from your 10 years? Like,
Oh,
what just really made your heart sing, you know, when it
um,
happened?
I'm gonna give you three. I'm gonna give you three short ones. Okay, three short ones
Sure.
because I think they're all in different ways. Okay, so once was very early in this past 10 years. I I know that I had fully transitioned into being a game designer because I was not still in costume as Ganner Such the Goblin. All right. When I was at a convention, I was selling my books. I maybe just had Hog Swallow and one other game on the table there, plus my fiction, but I wasn't in costume and makeup. And It was at Lexington Comic Con, and there was a really nice older gentleman that towards the end of the day came up and started talking to me and asking me questions about my stuff and what I did, right? Really, really great conversation, really nice guy. And the artist across the way, like it was sort of artist alley, but it wasn't really artist alley. Like we were all at tables, 6 foot tables. So we didn't have the big 10 by 10 booths. They are freaking out. Right. And I'm just like, what are they? And they're just freaking out around me. Right. And this guy was like, well, I got to go. It was nice meeting you. He shook my hand. He walked away. And one of my artist friends that I just met that weekend came over and says, you have no idea who you were just talking to, do you? And I said, that was just a very nice older gentleman. I said, I like meeting and talking to people. He goes, that was Billy D. Williams, you idiot. And he turns and walks away. I am a huge Star Wars fan. Like my car has a giant Rebel Alliance vinyl decal on the hood,
Can
right?
confirm.
Yeah. And I was sitting there talking to Lando Calrissian for probably 15 minutes and did not know it. Um, and so like that's one of my favorite early stories, right?
Yeah.
Another story. So I made a game that released right at the beginning of the pandemic. It was the only real kids game I have written, Weird Scouts. And the development, because of the pandemic, because of some other things, development of that game was not fun. It was very, very rough. It was one of my favorite games leading up to that, like playtesting with kids and game designers and their kids and dealing with the artists and all of that was a blast. But once we got into production, so we hit some snags on some things, and then once we were about to go to print and everything shuts down because of the COVID shutdown, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That game was actually nominated for an Emmy when it finally came out. Didn't win, but it was nominated, which was huge.
Yeah.
But the second half of that process soured me so much on the
Mm.
game that it just kind of lived as a not great experience, right? That had been a great experience and turned sour. So it sold terribly. Thank you, pandemic. But A couple years after that, I got an email from a special needs teacher who had seen the game from another teacher at a special needs conference and wanted to buy 10 copies or whatever for their classroom. And it became this thing that sort of slowly virally spreading through the special needs community as a game that they can play at school with their kids, because it's not about killing stuff,
Hmm.
right? So that they can work on cooperation and sharing and these things. And that, to me, I don't care if that game sells well. Like, that was like, oh my goodness, something that I did that I ended up soured on actually went out and did something good, right?
Yeah.
So that was like, whoa, all right, mind blown. Put it out there. Somebody will find it. Somebody will love it.
Right.
Um,
Every game is for someone.
every game is for someone, and not every game has to be for everyone.
Right.
Uh, and I think the third one was just the other day on my Discord. Somebody spoke up asking a question about Vale, right? About how to run the end of Vale, because their players had been way more successful in the game than anybody ever thought was possible. Like, the players are winning, right? And that's okay because they're supposed to kind of win in the end anyway. But the fact that when he said, like, they've done this, and this, and he only had 3 players, I'm like, oh, so they've done more than one season of this game. And he says, yes, we only plan to play one season, but we're having so much fun that we had to keep going.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a very small comment, right? But for a designer, that's okay, that's awesome. I wrote a 1 season game, and these play people had so much fun playing it, they kept going,
Yeah.
right? Because I know I'm never going to replace Dungeons and Dragons, right? I'm never going to be my games, and I don't design them to be the replacement games, right? I don't
Right.
design these to be your 20-year campaigns. They're not Dungeons and Dragons. They're not Savage Worlds. They're not Pathfinder. But knowing that people are having so much fun that they keep playing it, that feels really good. So
Yeah. I saw those comments on your Discord,
yeah,
and it was like, oh, I also, when we were playtesting, we played 2 seasons
we
because we
played two
were all having
seasons,
fun.
right? Because everybody was having fun, right?
We switched up characters to like playtest other things or whatever, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
as a player, I was like, yes, I will play more of this right now. Um,
right.
so I agree that it was for my, obviously you are much more invested in the game than I am. I'm merely a person who played it and liked it, but like it is, I saw that comment and I was like, oh yes, I understand this feeling
Yeah,
of having so much fun that you wanted to keep going. Well, thank you, Robert, for going through all these my questions about like 10 years. Congratulations, and
thank
many
you.
many more to come. You got a new
Yeah,
banner too for your booth. Like it's
I do. I
fun.
have a new banner. I don't hang it up in my office.
Yeah, you know what you know what you're doing. You don't need
I
to
know.
advertise yourself to yourself.
But I did. I did. That was the one thing that I really, at the beginning of the year, I was like, I've been doing this for 10 years. My banner is fine, but it looks dated to me, right? Like, it
Sure.
was it was doing what I needed it to do, in that people that had bought from me before, because that's the other thing. If I do a convention, and I do conventions, right? But if I always want something new on my table every
Mm,
time I go to a convention, right? So I would have people that would come back because they know they want to see what's new on the table.
yeah.
And so my banner was like, oh, okay, people can see it from a distance and be like, okay, that's Robert's booth. I got to go see what he has that's new. But it wasn't exciting, and it wasn't drawing in new people. It was like
Mm,
people would walk by and like, okay, wicked clever. What the hell is that? It's a giant eyeball in the sky. Okay, great. And 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 it had done double duty because I had designed it 10, probably 8 years ago, to cover the fiction and the games, right? So it had like fantasy, sci-fi, horror, adventure games, right, along the bottom. But I didn't. I do now do fantasy, sci-fi, horror, adventure games. But it was like each of these individual things, and it wasn't doing it. So I did design a new, bright, colorful banner that you can see from a mile away,
yeah.
and it. And there's nothing super special about it. It just says "Wicked Clever Games," and inside each of the letters is art from one of my covers or one of my games.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which
but it tells people what I do.
right. And I think it's fun to assemble all those covers. Like, oh, look, I've done
Yeah,
all of these things. I've done,
right. Yeah, yep.
so anyway, that's a little bonus. But anyway, like retrospective, great. Um, Thank you for doing that. Congratulations. Hope for, at least 10 more years. That's how we'll, we'll come back in 10 years for your 20 years in the industry. Uh,
Whew. Yeah,
uh,
maybe.
maybe. Sure,
Maybe.
sure. Who knows?
We don't know what the industry is going to look like in 10 years.
Well, we did.
We
All
don't
right. We
we
didn't
don't know
know
what the
10 years ago
world
what
is
it
going
would
to
look
look
like
like in
today.
10
So,
years. Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. All right. We've talked a little bit about Vale of Failed and Fallen, just in
Yeah.
passing here. I actually, it, so like, I want to ask you a little bit about it because, like,
Okay.
I've mentioned in the interview that you, or the beginning of this interview, that you like have had an etch a sketch shakeup of your existence, and like, and maybe it's not as dramatic as etch a sketch, but like you've had a lot of real life shifting stuff that's just
Yeah.
like part of kids getting older and changing situation in the neighborhood and all kinds of stuff, and you could get into that as little or as much as you want, but I think it's kind of you've obviously been much more focused on like your family life and your home life and stuff like that, and I haven't seen you online as much,
Right.
and so I assume that has flowed into kind of like the sort of marketing cycle as well
Yes. Yep.
that you would expect to follow. You talked earlier about like you want to have one major release a year. Well, then once that comes out, then you got to switch to the hype cycle of like keeping it out
Right.
there. And you talked about the game being out for being seen in an actual play and stuff like that. So like I feel like maybe Veil of the Failed and Fallen has kind of come into like a void almost, and maybe this is like
Yeah.
if
Oh
you
no. I
could
mean,
like
you're saying it nicely, right? What I will say is, I did not market the game like I should have when it released because of everything else that was going on. Like
right,
there was
right,
no marketing splash
right.
from it. Um,
And I don't want to like touch on any sore points about it or whatever,
it's not sore.
but like
it's
how
it's Robert. You screwed up.
I'm curious to know like what has been the afterlife.
Yeah, no, I don't know either. So this is what I
So
got. I got that there's lots of stuff going on right in my life.
yeah,
Uh, my wife and I at the beginning of last summer, because my eldest child graduated from high school, going away to college. We decided, I guess maybe I decided on a whim because we'd always talked about moving closer to Columbus, but had to be within a certain distance to make the move worthwhile, right? For
Columbus,
the money.
Ohio, for I guess.
Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, Columbus, Ohio. Because I used to live in a little town called Lancaster, Ohio, and it took my wife, who worked at the Ohio State University, about an hour most days to get to work, and about an hour to get home. And when my eldest child decided they were going to go to Ohio State for undergrad, and my son goes to a arts high school that was on the outskirts of Columbus, it was like I'm the only one that needs to be that doesn't need to be in like that can work. I can work wherever, and I'm the only one that isn't going to Columbus
Yeah,
every day, right? So I was
just
like,
makes sense.
let's look. And there's this whole thing like when a kid starts to like look into colleges and you got to go to these orientations and this is how much it costs and tuition is this, right? This small bucket, and then housing is this giant bucket of money over here, and I'm like, I wonder if there would be a solution in Columbus that could give them like their own little apartment, and so I found a piece of property that had a little 2 bedroom apartment and then a 2 bedroom house next to it. Maybe it was a 1 bedroom apartment, a 2 bedroom house next to it, right? And it was all they were selling it together, right? Which is kind of unusual. So we called the realtor that was listed on it, said we want to go see it. It was a hellhole. Like we didn't buy it, right? And he's like, I'm going to show this to you, but I don't think this is right for you. We saw 3 houses that day, and none of them were right for us. And I'm really trying to point out what's good about the houses. And he stops me. He goes, Robert, you don't have to like anything about these houses. You're not hurting anybody's feelings here. They can just be bad.
Yeah,
And I was
you
like,
are very
oh,
positive. You're
I was like as if it were
you don't
I
want to
don't
hurt
know.
anybody's
I don't
feelings.
want to hurt anybody's feelings, right? Like, oh, I could see how this would work. It doesn't work for us, but um
Right.
so but because we had sort of started that process, like thinking about moving, right? And we knew how much real estate, like how much houses cost, about like what we could afford, and we had a number that we thought would be what our house would sell for, that we had lived in for almost 20 years, because that's the important part of this story. We had lived there for a very long time and raised two kids there.
Yeah.
We had so much stuff, right? So our realtor comes down to look at our house, and he's like, we can get more money out of this than what you told me, right? Like, this is, he goes, that would be like, we're going to sell it to an investor who's going to flip it. But that's not what we're going to do. We want to make you some money. We want to get you a better house in Columbus. So that started the journey of, we had to do a full kitchen renovation. We had to finish a bathroom renovation that I had started and stopped for 2 years. We had to take all of our belongings and put them in a 20-foot pod in the alleyway behind our house, right? We had to what do they call it? I don't remember what, but we had to make the house look nice, right?
Right,
For
right.
people to come in and look at it, right? And we had wanted to list it a certain day, but the kitchen renovation wasn't done, right? And it took about 3 more weeks. So we sort of missed that hot summer sales window, and put it on the market, and nobody was looking at it. Nobody was really, like, we had some people come during an open house. They're like, oh yeah, we're really interested. And they didn't get approved. So the process that we thought was going to be fast took all summer. We finally got an offer in October, and then immediately had to find a house. Like, we'd been looking in Columbus, but we had stopped because we would get excited about a house and wouldn't be able to put an offer in on it because we didn't have an offer on our house, right?
Yeah.
So then suddenly, oh, we got to find a house, right? Like right now, in the next 3 days, we have to make an offer on a house, or else we're going to lose the offer on our house. So, and then it's the whole, 30-day process of closing on the houses and moving everything. And we unloaded that pod, in November. Like, we bought our house, we closed on at the end of October. Moving truck came. Moving truck broke down.
Oh my.
between the
know
two
that.
towns. The moving truck broke down, and sat on the side of the road for 6 hours waiting for a part. When they get here, it's a terrible thunderstorm, so we're trying to get everything into the house without getting anything ruined. And then the moving truck goes away, and the pod gets delivered. And I unload the pod that has all of my business supplies, all of my inventory, all of my books are at the very back of the pod, because I had loaded those in first, my boxes and boxes full of product, because, well, we're not going to need this for the next month that it's going to take to sell our house.
Right, right.
5 months later, I really, really need that stuff, because we unloaded it 2 days before I left to go to a catacon in Dayton. So, and
Yeah,
then
so
it's,
I mean, the story you're telling, and you can finish it out, but
yeah,
like this is why you weren't in marketing mode for
right.
Veil
I
the
wasn't
Failed
in
and
marketing
Fallen.
mode. They showed up. The book showed up in probably June, late June, right? I don't have a kitchen at this point because demolition has happened, right? I don't really have any place to stage anything, and I've got a list of other things that has to happen for the house.
Yeah.
And so I told everybody, I said, when the books arrive the next week, I can't work on anything other than boxing these books up and getting them out the door to Kickstarter backers. And that's exactly what happened. And the Kickstarter books got out the door, and the rest of them went in the pod, right? And Studio 2 had their copies, and they weren't going to release until like August, right after Gen Con. But nothing happened with the game. It went to Kickstarter backers, and I didn't do anything with it because I couldn't do anything with it, right?
Right. But like, and but then like, has what I guess what I want to know is like, has like it found its audience despite that? Like, have you heard from people, like you shared the story about the one person who
About the one person
was
on the,
playing
yeah.
2 seasons of it because they were so excited. Like, has it had sort of like an impact that you've been able to see, even if you weren't there to push it along, you know?
A little bit. Not as much as I would have wanted. I mean, it sold well at Lexington Comic Con in February, March, whenever that was. It did
Hmm.
so well. Um, Part of that was I had to learn
Billy
how to
D.
pitch.
Williams bought a copy.
No, no, no. Billy D. Williams was years ago,
I
right?
know, I know.
I didn't see Billy D. Williams this year. But part of it is I had to learn how to pitch that game because it
Mm,
starts with a very dark premise.
it's true.
And you
I
don't want, yeah. So,
yeah, I mean it is it's a we haven't talked about what it is yet because like anybody who's watching this video maybe doesn't know. Let me try and you can add some
go
stuff.
for it. Yeah.
So like it is a game about one of those sort of stereotypical fantasy children get sucked into the realm and they given a here kid here's a sword, now you can defeat the big bad evil guy, and they try to do that and fail because they're like 12 years old and
Right.
evil
Exactly.
wins and they get put back to earth. But then, like 20 years later, they get to go back to the realm and try again now as adults, somewhat
Yes.
broken, somewhat traumatized by their earlier failure, which it's always involves one of them was killed in the earlier attempt, right? So
Yeah.
you've got
Yeah.
this like, yeah, our buddy was killed fighting the like giant vassal of evil 20 years ago, and now we're back and like, do we like how much baggage is are you
Right.
dealing with? How much trauma are you bringing into the story the second time?
Exactly.
It is sort of a dark premise, but I think it is set up to be a story about overcoming all of that.
It is. It's
So,
intended to be a hopeful story, right?
right.
Like it's intended to be a game about growing up, about dealing with childhood disappointments and unreasonable expectations. I say it's my former gifted kid syndrome game,
Right, right,
because that is a common phrase among nerds in my generation.
right. You're told you
That
can do whatever you want, and then
you're right,
what
right.
have I actually done with my life now? You know?
Yes, right. You're brilliant. You can change the world, but we didn't, right? Because changing the world is really, really hard.
Right.
It
And
was
not
basically
everything is
that.
about a standardized test.
Right, right, exactly. So it's yeah. I now say it's a game for the Goonies generation, right?
Mm.
It's a game about remembering your childhood, but grappling with it as an adult and being the hero that your childhood self needed you to be.
Is is there a way to market it as like it's a legacy sequel game? Like it is like because those have been so popular for all the media that we grew up with. Like
Right,
we've got Cobra Kai and like they did another Top Gun movie and like it's all of those films kind of do that, right? Where they bring
right.
back the like they bring back the characters and a lot of times the actors to like revisit their roles from all those years ago. So it's like it's almost like I don't know if you intended that at all, but like it almost is picking up on that same sort of energy,
I
right?
wrote that down. I just wrote it down. I have to explore that idea. But yeah, it did not, it could not get the marketing that I wanted to give
Yeah.
it, just because of everything else that's going on. And my kid's starting college.
Right,
Um,
right.
and
It's just a lot.
Yeah. But it is one of those slow and steady sellers. Um, it's not a it's not our Woodland Gods, which sold out in 3 months, right?
Right.
So it's going to take a little bit longer than
Yeah.
that. And it does well at conventions.
It looks great.
It's got a beautiful cover, right?
Yeah. Beautiful cover.
So
Like, you put a lot of work into the art and talking about
well,
the working with artists and stuff like that. You put a lot of work in the artists inside and, you
yeah,
know,
and
it
that
comes with stickers.
it comes with stick. Well,
You
so
have to buy them.
The Kickstarter came
Oh,
with
those were
stickers.
exclusives.
Those were exclusive.
Because
Because
again, just as like a thing for the audience, because there's going to be a link to this in the comment or the show notes
there,
here.
yeah,
Yeah. But like there you make your own map of the world and there's some
right,
set features that show up somewhere in the world, and so that's the stickers you get to make your map and where is the bones of the behemoth? It's somewhere in
right.
the valley, and you get to place it around. So yeah. Okay, cool. Well,
And people love that. I
yeah.
was adamantly opposed to putting stickers in this game. Um, adamantly opposed. And then I tested it out last year at, was it last year at Origins? Maybe it was the year before at Origins. Because when did we go to Kickstarter on this one? It
I mean,
must
it
have been the year
was,
before.
I think you delivered it. I think you delivered my copy at Origins last year.
Okay,
So
so it wasn't
like
at Origins last year. It
it
must have been the
wasn't at
year
Origins
before.
last year. It was
I play test games for a long time, people.
yeah. Yeah.
So
You do.
when
It's one
I
of
do
your
when I was so it must have been when I tested it at Origins 2 years ago, and I had little round stickers with the places sort of icons on them just to see like are people going to enjoy this, and they loved it. Like now I have since met other people that despise stickers. Right.
right.
And they're like, I don't want stickers in my game. Well, you're in luck because it doesn't come with those.
Right.
You'd have to print them out online. So, but
You could draw your own map, you
you
know?
could draw. Yeah. Well, then that was originally the thought was that you drew your own map. Because I know I've learned this over 10 years. I am good at making books. Once you start
Mm,
adding anything else on there, we have gone out of my skill set. We've gone out of my what I am comfortable handling manufacturing
yeah.
and figuring out how to distribute. Like I don't have any clue how I would put stickers in this book for Studio 2 to distribute them, right? Like
Right.
it
You'd
just
have to
doesn't yeah,
you'd have to shrink wrap the stickers in the hardcover edition at your
right.
kitchen table or whatever, and then send
Exactly.
those to
And
Studio
and
2
I'd have
and
to open every box, all
right, right.
thousand books and
Yeah.
stuff them in there or yeah, so
Or you would have had to have had that done
somewhere along the line,
somewhere
right?
along the line, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is
So
what you there's so many it's like what you're saying. Once you get into all these other little pieces, like we're talking about wet ink, Brandon and I had a meeting earlier today about like some of the extras that we're going to be offering in our next crowdfunding campaign. And it's like, it's just I mean, you can get whatever you want made, but then it's
right,
like, it's just all other stuff to deal with. And it starts to get, you know, the more of that stuff you add, it adds complexity, it adds shipping complexity. It's,
yep,
we've learned like if you go through a fulfillment house, which we have for the last few projects, like they need a barcode on everything because that's how they're tracking their process. So
right,
then if it's not printed with a barcode, then you have to put it comes to
right,
your house in a box and you're putting a barcode on like every bag of, on the back of every sticker, which is, that's ridiculous. Like
right.
we've only done that once, but like we learned that you had to do it that way.
You
So
had to do it that way, which sort of brings me to like I am sitting on. So the very first game I made was a storytelling card game called Hogswallow 10
yeah,
years ago, right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I thought, oh, for the 10th year anniversary, people have been
Mm,
asking for this game to be put back in print. And when I say we did it in house, oh, we did it in house. We had the cards printed. They came to us banded, right? It was put inside a cloth bag that we had hand stamped with the logo, right?
yeah.
That had been hand carved, the logo, so you could stamp it. And each and every one, and tied a tag on it. We had a barcode, right? Tied the tag on it. So it was labor intensive to actually put the thing together. And anyway, I was like, for the 10th anniversary, I will commission someone to design new backs for the cards, right? To get make it fancier looking. We're going to design a tuck box. It'll go in a tuck box this time. It'll just be the deck of cards. And then we're like, wait a second, we haven't made a card game in 10 years. Like, how do we do this? How do we get this
Mm.
thing printed? How do we, right? And then started looking at costs. And it's like, well, there's a Kickstarter right there. And do I really want to waste my Kickstarter goodwill on this release of the card game when I know I've got the follow-up to Gablonia coming out and like all
Right.
that. So I'm sitting on the 10th year re-release of Hogswallow and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this
So
because
here's one thing that I don't know if I don't know if it's true or not. I think like you, or I'm like there's sort of a limited pool
right,
of Kickstarter goodwill. I don't know that we found that to be true in practice. So like I don't know, try it and see.
right. Well,
Um,
not just the goodwill, but the
but
amount
it's
of
your effort, it's your
energy,
time, and
right? The amount of
your
energy that has to
yeah.
go into doing one.
Mhm.
Um, And yeah, after this interview, I'm gonna do it, right? But because I'm sitting on it, and it doesn't make sense to sit on it. But yeah, like I was like, what do I just put this on Drive Through RPG that people can print on
Right, drive through
demand the
cards,
cards,
just print it
drive
out.
through
And
cards, right, and
I've
then
done
just get
that.
it, right? But then nobody's gonna get it because nobody knows about it. Um, so yeah, so sitting on that, and
But then,
then
but here's the you put it on Drive Through RPG, and then you order it for like $8 a deck or whatever it is. But then you sell it at your tables for 15 to 25, whatever you
right,
think you can, whatever the sort of the market will bear. And then, you're still making a profit, even though it's,
right,
whatever. But you could do small print runs because you're effectively just buying print on demand cards. Like you could do
right.
all that. Like
I
it
could
is
do all that.
possible, but
It is
like
possible.
it is nice to
And
have the like, I,
honestly, so many like that might be the right way to do it. I don't know. Because I do see a lot of indie success stories that start that way, right?
Mhm.
That they're doing the small shoestring print on demand. It's and selling at their booth, and suddenly, oh, this is a really cool game. It's getting word of mouth. It's really popular. I don't think Hogswell is that really cool word of mouth. It's going to get popular game. Like it's a good game, but some other things came out at the same time at Gen Con that year that sort of eclipsed it, like Story Cubes. It's very similar to Story Cubes.
Mhm.
So uh, yeah,
But see, you mentioned the follow-up to Goblonia. So
yeah,
this is like another angle to take with it. Like I guess it would have to be another game, but like the Goblin Poker deck, it's like
right,
the game that's or the deck of cards that's meant to be used to play Goblin Poker
right.
is what you're effectively doing in Goblonia, right? So you could
Yes,
do
but
like a
the cards wouldn't like if I had been smart, I would have. Well, there's two lines of thinking that. Like if the cards were the cards you used to play Gablonia, or if I could come up with a way that that was the case, that would be good. That would be some cross. But then it's like there's a game
I'm just saying
that I
another business opportunity. Like you
right.
just make some cards as like a adjunct to like with your and that's the thing. Like they don't have I don't know. Like I should just cut all this out because this is like just pure business speculation. Like we don't need any of
We
this.
can
But
we can
like
put it out there. We'll cut past it.
but like it's like I sell them and if you come to me you go to Studio Q, you can get my books. If you come to
Right.
me and meet me at a booth, then you can get like goblin art cards that have like, shit-eating grin Gandersnatch on the cover of the deck of cards, and
That we
that's
won't
the
have
bonus
that.
feature,
We won't have
like
that. Right.
because
You
you
can get
met
the
Robert in
extra stuff
person.
for coming to see me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, I don't.
That's not a bad idea. Right.
Yeah, just
I
make
have
it.
to do something with it. I have already paid the artist for the back of these cards, right? Like that's done. It's right now money has gone out and no money has come in on them.
That's
So
right.
so I have to do something with them, right? I am not independently wealthy that I can just pay artists to go do stuff that seems cool to me.
Right.
I would
Right.
be awesome, right? If you
Right.
are independently wealthy, be a patron of the arts and like just pay artists to do stuff for you. Like
Yeah.
that's how it used to work.
Uh, all right. I mean, we've talked for an hour or at least already, so I don't want to take too much more of your
Right.
time
We
here.
don't want a 2 hour video. Nobody's gonna watch that.
No, we don't.
Um,
I a lot of my videos have been like I'm like 90 minutes. We got to cut it off in 90 minutes. So
right, right,
like
right.
nobody's gonna watch
Cut
that. But
that
like
middle section out.
yeah. But I do want to. So one thing that we mentioned Goblonia a couple times, and you're talking about Hog Swallow and all that kind of how it evolved, kind of ultimately into the game Goblonia, which is a goblins playing poker, and there's some stakes, and it's sort of smash the patriarchy. The
Yes. Yeah.
elves are ruling the Goblin City, and this game has been out for a couple of years, but you're working on a follow up now, and you talked
I am
about
working on a follow up.
you play test for a long time, so here it is. You're in sort of this manuscript. I've read a manuscript of a version of this game,
Oh, and
and
it's all changed.
I'm sure it has. I'm sure it has because you iterated,
Right.
and
You've read an early alpha probably.
I did. But like you're doing a new thing, and so tell us what that is, and kind of set us up for what's
So
coming next.
Goblonia is basically what you said. You're playing as goblins. So the game is it is meant to live in that place of your other role-playing game that has gone off the rails, right? So where everything's on fire, everyone is failing, they've befriended a chicken, and the GM has no idea what's going on, right? But everybody's having fun. That's the key. Everybody's embracing the chaos and having fun. So Goblonia is a game about punching up, embracing the chaos, everybody's having fun. It is almost out of print. There are 42 copies left from the print run. 40 are in my basement, 2 are at Studio 2, and I'm probably passing those 40 off to Studio 2 at Origins, because they will sell them quicker than I will. Because I don't do very many conventions anymore, by the way. That might be why you haven't seen me. I do like 2 now a year. And then I go to Origins, but I don't sell at like Studio 2. My distributor sells my books for me. I make more money by not having a booth at conventions than I do by having a booth at conventions, because of the expenses and everything else. But so it's almost out of print, and I had to decide: are we reprinting Goblonia, the game, or am I going because Goblonia 2, right? I'm going to call it that once, so everybody knows, and then I'm going to give the real title. It's called Buttle Scutt, and it was originally going to be an expansion to Goblonia. And there were originally planned to be 3 expansions to Goblonia, taking you to different aspects of the world, right, as those goblin characters. But with Goblonia 1 going out of print, it's like we can't just do an expansion to a game that's
to a book
not,
that you can't buy the core book for.
that you can't get the core book easily. You can still get it on Drive-Thru RPG, you can still get it in PDF, all of that, but you couldn't get it at your local gaming store, and that seemed like a dumb business move to me. So I was like, you know what, we need to go the old White Wolf route, where it is the core game is repeated in a new scenario, is a new thing. So Buttle Scutt is the name that we ultimately landed on. I really wanted to call it Goblonia 2, but people wisely pointed out some challenges with that name. It's about pirates. It's about goblin pirates. All right, you are goblin pirates.
I mean, what a more two tastes that taste great together. Goblins and pirates.
Goblins and pirates, right? Okay, in the first game, you're fighting back against Titania because she took over your city. In this game, you're fighting back against the imperial tendencies of Oberon, who is trying to sweep through and conquer and colonize
Oberon as the Dutch East India Company, or the British East India Company, and your pirates, and
your pirates, and you got to deal with harpies, and you got to deal with merfolk, and you got to deal with other pirates, and giant sea beasts. And honestly, this game came about. I started working on this game back when we were working on Goblonia originally. So this game came about during the pandemic, when there was this pirate game called Sea of Thieves that came out. And me and Ian Lemke and my buddy Dave were playing a lot of Sea of Thieves. And it was a little buggy. And we were chasing a shark in that game. And we clipped, like, our ship. It's a video game. Our ship clipped the shark. And the ship starts flying through the air and spiraling around. And we're falling off the ship. And everybody's laughing and having a great time. And
physics is broken.
And physics is broken. And I said, I want to capture that in Goblonia. I've got to do a pirate game just so we can have that chaos of that moment right there. And it didn't make it into the first game. The first game was about being in a city. But now, all these years later, I've held on to that. And we have finished the initial playtest of the game. Art has been commissioned. Art is going. And I am now at I'm writing, it's not fluff, but I'm writing the world. I'm writing the spaces between the rules, if you will. I'm writing all of that right now. And
I agree. That stuff gets called fluff, but it's
not fluff. It's
not
important.
Meaningless. It is purposeful.
So the mechanics are pretty much done. Believe it or not, my playtesting group, much like the internal playtesting group for Vale, was like, we're having fun. Can we keep going with this? So they asked that. We're having fun. Can we keep going with this? Like, I was going to do it for X number of weeks, and then somebody else was going to take over in our group and play something else, like Brindlewood Bay or Call of Cthulhu or whatever. Like, somebody had the urge to write, and everybody, or not write, but run. And everybody's like, hey, can we keep going with this? And I'm like, well, you all are at the end of this campaign, and it doesn't do me any good to keep playtesting with you all at this power level. So we got to start over. right? If you want to keep going, we have to we have to do a new story. We have to play test back from the beginning so I can work through the stuff like that's not the end game stuff.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, let's do it. So probably after Origins, we'll start that up again, and play test for the rest of the summer. And yeah, I've lost the thread here. So
I was just
but it
asking you
is,
to tell me about Buttle Scutt and
yeah.
like
So
what
you're Goblin
is
Pirates.
the thing that you're working on. Like,
Yeah,
because we talked about we've talked in this whole interview about like kind of your process and like, the kind of the ups and downs of like life taking over from your game design and now you're
right.
back to game design and stuff like that. So like, yeah, this is what you're working on. You're in the middle of
Well,
playtesting. You've got art on the way. This is how you work.
this is what I'm supposed to be working on. I actually wrote a totally different game last week, and that's what we play tested this last Saturday.
I'm not this it's because you did say this in earlier part of the interview that you do one big game a year, but you fit in other little games. So
I have to. I don't know what it is, and maybe it's from being a theater person. If I
I think it's
stick,
just being creative. You have
it could be. If I stick 100% with one thing, I will not get that one thing done.
you
Because I
go to
have
resent
other
it. You're like
ideas.
stuck on something. You got to go do something else to get a new perspective, and then
Right.
you'll solve
Right.
the problems of your big project by doing another project.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So, and always for me, there's right now how many? There are three big games that are in various stages, and they will jump and leapfrog in front of each other,
yeah.
like whichever one. Because there's also oh, what's the name of it now?
You've got
Um,
a Deadly Island game at some point.
oh yeah, Murder Island. That's I got the cover for that. It's done, but the game's not done. Okay, so Murder Island. So there's four games in there right now. One you don't even know about. One nobody knows about, and I won't say it.
That's
But
fine.
there is Teenage Rockstar Demon Slayers,
All right. All right.
which got bumped by Gablonia, like it was, or Gablonia 2 got bumped by Buttle Scutt. Those two were neck and neck, and then it's like which one is coming next? Which one is coming next? I don't know until one of them makes a leap forward, and then it's like, okay, this is the one that's going to be ready for production first. Let's focus on this one, and then other little stuff like I get an idea, and I'm like, is this gamifiable? Not a word, folks, but can I gamify this? Is it fun? Which is always the key to my
Right.
entire game philosophy is it fun? Because if it's not, I don't want to play it. I don't want to make it. And that's not to say there's games out there that are not fun to me that are fun to other people and they're great games, right? And
Right.
worthy of being made. But so yeah, there's other
Yeah.
little ideas
I
always.
Jason Morningstar and Bully Pulpit did Desperation, which is their biggest. Well, not their now it's Genia's, but like previously Desperation. It's like that doesn't seem like a Robert kind of game. If you like it's terrible. Like everyone is starving in like a terrible winter, and all the cards are like basically what terrible thing did you do to survive today? And
Ooh,
it's a
see, I think
it's
that would be fun to explore.
all right. Well, right, but it doesn't sound like the kind of game that you're
It's
like
probably not the kind
naturally
of
drawn
game
to
I would
create.
write.
Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah, no,
you know,
no.
Jason,
Yep. My
Jason's got a
little
market. Jason's
right.
got a lane.
Yes. My little games right now are like I like breaking the conventions of games. And right now I'm playing with for my little games. I want to do because I've got two games now about identity and uncovering who you are.
Mm.
One of them that I released as a one pager last year. Just I'm like I wrote this yesterday. I want it out of here so I don't have to think about it anymore. Here it is on itch. Um, uh, uh, are you a man or are you a puppet? Inspired by the song in the Muppet movie, "Am I a man or am I a Muppet?" Right? And the premise of the game is you don't know, and so it's a game about a group of people that don't know and doing something crazy and uncovering are they a human or are they a puppet?
It's a great
Right?
concept. Great concept.
Right. So it was a one shot, right? A one pager, and it is a one shot, and so sort of exploring identity in that one of the core kind of ideas of a role-playing game is that you make a character, right?
Right.
You make a character and you know who your character is, and everything else might be unknown, and you go explore that. And I was like, well, what if you don't know who your character is? What if that's the exploration?
Yeah.
So that is the game that I wrote last week called Who the Hell Are You? And that we play tested on Saturday. You do not create a character. You uncover who your character is in the game by making assumptions and finding out if those assumptions are right or wrong.
All right. This is a great idea. Good idea. Good idea.
So
I look forward to the
but now I
zine.
need a third just because I work in threes,
Huh?
like and it goes back to theater, right? Three is funny. Directors, I remember that three is funny. Like if there was a bit, you had to do it three times because that was the laugh, that was the payoff. So for me, I always want three. I've
Right.
never gotten three in a series before.
Well, it
Purgatory House, Starship Infernum, Murder Island didn't happen yet, right?
didn't happen
My
yet. Like I'm
my
sure you talked about Goblonia having
a
three
third, right? But
supplements.
we're only on
So
number
like
two.
there's a there's a third. There's at least two more ideas out there if it was supposed to originally have three supplements. So like
Yeah,
you you'll get there one of these times.
right.
Your trilogy.
So yeah,
Hey, I don't. That doesn't really like come to a dramatic end, but like our time is
bum bum
passing.
bum.
Robert, thank you for chatting with me today. Please tell everybody where
Thank
you
you.
mentioned your itch page. You've talked about Studio 2. Where can people find your stuff? Where can people tweet it? Can
Sure.
they what is it? Skeet? Do we
What?
skeet
I don't
now?
know.
No,
Is
no,
there
we said
something
we
called
didn't.
Skeet? Is there really something called Skeet?
I think that's what you do on a Blue
Blue
Sky.
Sky?
You skeet on Blue
Yeah, I
Sky, I
wanted to
think.
do Blue Sky. I have a thing on Blue Sky, but again, I don't use it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Anyway,
so
if you want to be found, where can you be found? Where can people pick up your games? Where can
it's
people
just
find you?
it's random chance. You've got to bump into me on the street, and I'll have them in a little satchel right there. I'll lay them out on the sidewalk. We can no. You can find me at wicked-clever.com. Like that's my website, right?
Yeah.
That's gonna have all of my stuff. You can find me in Studio 2's website. So in distribution, my games, if they're in print, in hardback, my hardback games in print are available in distribution, which means you can buy them on Amazon. You can have them ordered at your local gaming store. I don't think Target or Walmart. I don't think that's a thing for role playing games. That would be cool if it was. But definitely on Amazon, and I'm totally okay if people buy my games on Amazon. Like I said, I want them to get them and have those community experiences. Yeah, I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Facebook as little as possible. I'm not on Twitter, but you can see me at Origins coming up here in just a couple of weeks. I will be in the Games on Demand room running Vale of the Failed and Fallen, running Buttle Scutt. You can see me at Catacon, and you can see me sometimes at the Studio 2 booth. No, not at the Studio 2 booth, at the IDGN booth. You can go get my stuff at Studio 2 always. But I'll be at the IGDN booth, hopefully at PAX. I thought I was going to have to go to Gen Con, but yay, somebody else is going to do it. So
Yeah, we
you
didn't
will
even
not
talk
see me at
about
Gen Con.
IGDN. You are also on the IGDN leadership team currently, so yeah, we didn't even talk about that. But
That's
that's
okay.
something else you do out there.
That's like a change from 10 years ago, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Uh,
So,
Robert,
yeah.
thank you. Thanks once again. I'll put links to most of the things that you said in the description, and people can follow those links, find your stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you for this interview. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thank
Please
you.
check out Robert's stuff because it's great. And your fan support, literal dollar exchanges, as well as goodwill and stuff. That is the lifeblood of all of us creators. So
Right.
appreciate you.
We would not be doing this if it weren't for you.
Right. So check out the stuff. Buy it if it makes your heart sing, and we'll see you in the next one.